Hello friends, my name is Marides, and over on TikTok, I am recapping House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas chapter by chapter. I write recaps for TV shows and books over on Snark Squad, and I love recapping. And I don't know, I figured I would try out TikTok as a platform for recaps because I started reading this, I started to read this again, give it another shot, and I was like, I could recap the crap out of this. And then I was like, why not TikTok? That is proving to be an interesting experience, and I'm not convinced it is the proper platform for these recaps. And I have just finished part 1 of this book, so the first 7 chapters, and I figured I would compile all of the videos on chapters 1 through 7 so that people could binge them, or if you're not on TikTok, you could watch the recaps of the first 7 chapters of this book. The plan is to do the entire book. I read that much and I have this much to go. I have committed to make it as far as I possibly can. That's all I've committed to. I know myself enough to not be overly ambitious here, but I am going to try. In addition to this, I've decided to put the uncut version, the extended versions, if you will, over on Patreon. Patreon has been as quiet as my channel has been lately, but as I'm picking up and making TikToks and semi-occasionally posting here on YouTube as well, I want to make sure that Patreon gets some content. I use Patreon mostly like a tip jar, so for $1 a month, you get access to everything. If you want to give more, you can, but basically just $1 a month and you get everything. I don't really have tiers, and I hope you guys enjoy. I've had this book since its released, and in fact, when I got it and I said that I would be reading it, I got a little bit of backlash about why I would be reading another Sarah J. Maas book. So I even made a whole YouTube video about why I read things that I suspect I won't like, and then I promptly just did not read this. I think the second book is coming out soonish, so I figured why not read this together. We open the chapter at a gallery and there is a wolf at the door. Am I going to have to take a sip of my fortifying beverage every time SJM uses the word door in this chapter? Bryce is our main character. The wolf at the door is her friend, and she says that she hears, "Open the hell up, B. It's hot as shit out here." But it's fantasy hell, so not hell. Hell. Bryce has wine red hair. I have a feeling that will come up again. She uses the surveillance equipment to see that her friend Danica is covered in garbage. And then she goes on about how great the surveillance equipment is because of the thick walls and door. And she says even with her half-fey hearing, which I think will be important, she couldn't make out much beyond the iron door save for the occasional banging fist. Like 3 paragraphs ago, you just told us that a female voice barked half muffled through the steel. And she made out clearly that Danica said, "Open the hell up, B." So can she hear stuff through this door or not? I know I said I would drink every time she said the word door, but it's 6 times on this page. A commitment's a commitment. Delicious. Someone named Lahaba tells Bryce that someone named Jessica doesn't like Danica in there. And also Bryce has freckled golden skin. She has golden skin, amber eyes, and weirdly colored hair. That's like the fantasy trifecta. Bryce lets Danica in and she's pretty smelly. Danica has silvery blonde hair, which is special but not as special as wine red. I feel like, I don't know, that's just me. You tell me on your fantasy scale if silvery blonde or wine red is more special. So Danica comes in and says that she needs to dump her stuff for a little while, and Bryce lightly protests because Jessica is going to be back that afternoon and her stuff is stinky. And then we just get a ton of really important, I guess, stuff to know. So Jessica is a 43-year-old enchantress. Now she's part of the House of Flame and Shadow. She only answers to the Underking. These people are something called the Mirror, and we literally get a parenthetical that says they're a group that come together to become guard, aside from humans and ordinary animals. If you're bored, it's literally not me, it's the book. Through some of this banter, so okay, Danica rearranged the crap in the closet to make space for her own. "I told you I was sorry I ate your leftover noodles. I'll buy you some more tonight. And it's not that, dumbass, though again, fuck you. That was my lunch for today." Danica chuckled. "This tattoo hurts like hell. I was so drunk I spelled my name wrong on the waiver." This feels like SJM was like, "This is an adult book and we're drunk and we say the F word. What the hell?" Those are the vibes that I'm personally getting. So we keep going and Danica wants to take a shower on account of she's covered in garbage. We say the word door 3 more times. And there's this weird aside about how she had always wondered why Jessica even bothered with an old-fashioned generator until the citywide outage last week and the power had failed and only the generator had kept the lights on. Probably this will be important later, but why is this dumped in here? They're literally besties and I need to take a shower. And Bryce is like, "Remember that blackout?" And then awkwardly goes, but M dash, and then brings us back to the point of like why Danica is even here. Bryce deduces that she's got a meeting with the city heads, and then we get so much freaking info dumping here. First of all, they met as freshmen at Crescent City University. There's 7 city heads. Danica's grandfather, the prime of the Valderan Wolves. Sabine is her mother, and she's the alpha of the Scythe Moon Pack, chief among the shifter units in the city's auxiliary. Sabine was the prime parent of the Valderan Wolves. And we get told again that Lahaba is guarding the stuff that's in the bottom of this gallery. And Danica has caramel colored eyes. I hope you're taking notes. So Danica has to meet with these 7 important people because someone named Philip Briggs is being released from prison, even though Danica and her pack caught him for setting off some bombs. And we got, Jesus Christ, so much more info dumping here about who and why this person is setting off bombs. Like, this is chapter 1. You did not have to go so ham here. The Veneer oppress humans. Veneer are magically gifted and long-lived, and above them are the Asteri. Danica's pack is called the Pack of Devils, and they're one of the most elite shifter units in Crescent City. The 33rd Imperial Legion claimed to do the same, but the angels made the fabled ranks of the governor's personal army just louder to promise help if challenged. Micah is the Archangel of Crescent City. Oh my god, I'm not. If at any point later I'm super confused, it is literally because I'm jumping all over. This is ridiculous. It was little of lost in 6 floor heads in Crescent City, the metropolis formerly known as Lunathian. Each head controls a specific part of the city, the crown of the wolves, the moonwood, the Phaeonic king of the Fibrosis, the Under king of the Bone Court, the Viper queen, the Meat Market, Oracle, the Gold Square, and the River Queen, who, where the maiden appearance representing the house of many waters and the blue court, pardon me, am I, oh, jeez, who's gonna remember that? Who's gonna remember that? Who's reading this? Which one of you guys is actually reading this? Let me know if you're just jumping over all of this in the comments. Chapter ends when Danica finally goes downstairs to take a bath, and Lahaba's down there and gives her kind of a hard time. There's a little pet, a 30-pound chimera. Will that be my favorite character? The odds are high. The odds are high. The phone rings and it's Jessica, and she tells Bryce to tell Danica that if she continues to use the supply closet as her own personal locker, I will turn her into a lizard. Yuck, yuck, yuck. I didn't take enough sips of this because we used the word door 12 times in like 8-ish pages. The majority of those were in those first 2 pages. Like, man. And there were 19 M dashes, which is actually not that many for Sarah J. Maas. Is she holding back? Is this gonna be the least M dashed of her works? Or is that too hopeful? Tune in for chapter 2 to find out. Is she really gonna do the whole book this way? A great question. Okay, so Danica comes up from her shower and Bryce is ready to go because she's actually going to leave with Danica. When Danica comes up, she's in her wolf form and only her caramel eyes remain the same. I haven't decided what it's too early to tell what the actual drinking game is here. I think eyes is always like a safe bet. Anytime caramel or amber come up, like take a drink, that might be a good one, but we shall see. Bryce is coming with her because she is doing some sleuthing for Jessica. She is looking for something called Luna's horn. It was stolen when that blackout happened. We learned about the blackout very awkwardly in chapter 1. So out Bryce and Danica walk, and we are told yet again that as a half-fae, Bryce can sense things and people in greater detail. I don't know how many times, this is the 2nd time in 2 chapters we are reminded that she can smell real good. I'm just throwing these things out there as they come up in case they come up again. We can create little lines of continuity within these recaps. Bryce tries to comfort Danica and say that there's no way that this Briggs guy is going to be let out of jail after bombing a bunch of stuff. But Danica is like all snarling and teeth gleaming and not happy. Bryce tells us about how much responsibility Danica has on her shoulders and how usually when Bryce messes up, like nothing much happens, but for Danica it ends up on the news, particularly because her mom makes sure of it, because her mom is that bitch. I don't know. We're still walking, we're still talking. I guess Danica changes the subject and lets Bryce know that her brother will be at the meeting that she's going to today. Bryce mentally corrects her that it's her half-brother and full fae prick. Danica knows that Bryce's brother will ask how she's doing, and Bryce says, tell Rune I'm busy doing important shit and he should go to hell. Maybe hell is the drinking game. Drink for hell! Conversation comes back around to the horn and the fact that Bryce has absolutely no clues as to where it's at. Danica's worried because if somebody has stolen this and is keeping it under wraps, then they are very powerful, and Bryce is very not. I'm not sure if we have mentioned that. My guess, okay, I'm throwing out a guess. Even though she's only half fae, as far as she knows, I'm gonna throw out a guess that she is actually really powerful and important, but she doesn't know it yet. They're telling us too many times that she's not like that powerful. She's not that important. And then Bryce's phone rings and it's her mom. Her mom wants to double check to see if she can still come visit next weekend. And then Danica is like, hi mom. Danica says that her and Bryce are taking a walk and her mom asks where. And then Bryce says Ember Quinlan makes overprotectiveness a competitive sport, which I don't doubt that that's true. But the fact that Danica went, Bryce and I are taking a walk, and her mom went, where? And Bryce is like, oh, that overprotectiveness coming to shine through. Girl, she just asked to where. And I feel like that's a pretty normal like conversation beat. Like, we're taking a walk. Oh, where are you going? But that's just me. That's just me. And then she tells us that Randall is the name of her stepfather, and Randall taught her to defend herself, particularly with guns. Bryce says guns are really bad, brutal killing machines, but also, I don't know if you've heard, but she's not that powerful. So she just has to rely on guns to help protect herself. I will be counting M dashes through all this, and I always get comments that are like, I love the M dash, and what's wrong with M dashes? First of all, I also love the M dash. I hate the way that Sarah J. Maas uses them and how frequently she uses them. And it's not only that she uses them frequently, it's that she uses them like this. Like I'm gonna put it here so you can see. Danica fibbed. We're just heading out to one of the hawker stalls in Old Square. We wanted some lamb kofta. What's wrong with a period right there? What? In the very next sentence, Danica's lying to Bryce's mom and saying that they're going out of town so she can't come visit. And then she says, we're going down to Calaxos next weekend. Ethan's got a sunball game there and we're all going to cheer him on. What is wrong with a period? Especially if you want to use so many other M dashes elsewhere. It like bothers me. Anyways, they lie to her mom. They're like, you can come. And then Bryce is like, gotta go, bye. And her mom kind of gives her a guilt trip, but like, is it a guilt trip if you literally were like, gotta go, bye, and hung up on your mom? Like, you maybe deserve to feel a little bit guilty. They keep walking and they come across this gate in the Old Square, and we're told a ton about what this gate is, and apparently it's like now a tourist attraction, because if you stand at one of the gates and there's like other ones around the city, you can talk through them. And they used to be communication devices way back in ye olden days or whatever. And now they don't really need them as communication devices because they've got, I don't know, fantasy cell phones. I don't know, I'm totally making that up. I don't know what they've got now. In addition to that, there's also like the superstition that the gate will grant wishes. And also when you touch it, it like zaps out a little piece of your magic. So there's like this huge line of tourists waiting to like, you know, interact with the gate, and Danica decides that she wants to make a wish, so she just like cuts in front of everybody, and everybody's like in awe because she's a famous person in the city and she's got like this position of power, but also like good for everybody that's like, ooh, it's Danica. But I feel like this is not like something that you would tell me to make me have good feelings about your protagonist, right? Like that they just cut in line. Like that is easily just immediately, who do you think you are? So when they cut all of the tourists in line and they get to the front, one of the guys up there is like, oh my God, it's Danica. And he's like in awe. And Bryce is like, it never gets old how in awe people are of her best friend and how much she's earned it. And then the boys like look around Danica and see Bryce, and then they're like in awe of her beauty. As Danica goes and like touches it and gets a little zap of power, Bryce tells us yet again that she doesn't have a lot of power, so she doesn't like to like get any zapped out because like she doesn't, I don't know, oh gosh, I keep forgetting to mention this, but she doesn't have a lot of power. So might want to jot that down so we can remember. Danica says that she's got too many things to wish for, but she wishes for Ethan to win his sunball game tonight. And her caramel eyes shine. Bryce says, you know, I barely have any magic worth taking, but okay. And she's gonna do it because she never backs down. And her and Danica do everything together. And then we go into this whole like 2 pages of like info dumping about dropping into immortality. So it's not really immortality, they just age incredibly slowly. They can last thousands of years, shifters and witchers 5 centuries, and full humans don't make the drop. And so because Bryce is half and half, she doesn't know if she's going to get thousands of years or a normal human lifespan, but her and Danica decided to do the drop together at the age of 27. That lets us like introduce 2 characters, Fury and Juniper, who are also like they're a friendship square, is what she calls it, and Fury is like a merc, and I don't know what Juniper is. A fawn. Juniper is a fawn. Maybe we'll meet them in the future and not awkwardly in an info dump. After all that, Bryce finally gets to make her wish, and she wishes that Danica would get a manicure. And then they laugh and leave, and then they split up, with Bryce going to the temple and Danica going off to her meeting. And that was 14 pages and 50 M-dashes. This has indeed turned into a drinking game. If you're playing along at home, please drink responsibly. And right now, the drinking game is any mention of special colored eyes, the word door, we're drinking to hell, and there have been some other suggestions in the comments, for instance, skin tight dresses and Bryce's perfect booty. We're still in chapter 3, so the game is still developing, but that's the rough draft. I should have said this at the very beginning, but it annoys the crap out of me that this book is not called Crescent City. I thought for so long the name of this book was Crescent City, but that is actually the series name, and this book is called House of Earth and Blood. I'd like to talk to the designer. I have questions. This is chapter 3. We start off with Bryce getting home from work, only to hear that Danica's pack, the pack of devils, is already in there. So Bryce is cursing as she opens the door. Bryce braces herself for what she says will be bossiness and arrogance and general nosiness. And she says that she feels bad for Danica's future mate, who will also have to deal with all of this and all of the pack dynamics. And she slides in there that Danica doesn't want to date a wolf, and neither does Bryce. Bryce definitely does not want to date a wolf. My second guess is that Bryce might date a wolf. You know, I'm picking up the vibes. Bryce shoves the door open, and there are 6 wolves there, and so she asks how the game was, and the wolf named Connor answers that they won, and Connor has golden skin. We love a racially ambiguous description, so then her fans can picture them as men of color, specifically to fetishize them. And then we get a ton of exposition. So Connor is Ethan's older brother. It's spelled Ethan, but I'm saying it Ethan. Ethan, Bryce, and Danica are all close friends. Danica is taking off her shoes, and they are 4-inch pearl white heels. And I'm really trying to imagine what the hell kind of shoes Bryce was wearing to work today. Pearl white heels? Oh, baby, no. The exposition continues as Bryce tells us that Connor would have been alpha had it not been for Danica, but he's not like salty about that at all. He's fine with it. Bryce asks everybody what they're watching, even though she's already decided that she's going to go into her room and read a romance novel with the door shut. Connor remarks on her being home late, and she says that she has a job, but then she internally says that's not exactly fair because Connor also has a job as Danica's second. Why does she say that then? That's a good question. It's mostly so that she can then tell us what a second does, and it involves torturing, killing, and maiming people. So Bryce goes into the kitchen where Danica is eating pizza and drinking a beer. Bryce asks about Briggs, and Danica says that he has been officially released. He found some sort of loophole that let him out. Even though this is bad news, Bryce can tell that something else is going on, so she kind of pushes Danica until she admits that her mom kind of cornered her, and she brought up in a public enough venue that 2 CCU students got killed near Luna's temple, and it was during Danica's shift and in her section of the city. Danica has no idea who did it, and her caramel eyes darken. Bryce starts looking through the pizza, and she finds one with cured meats and stinky cheeses, and she's like, it's Bronson's choice, obviously. And I'm bringing this up now because she's mentioned Bronson a couple times, and I just skipped over it. So first she says something about him liking art house flicks, and then there's some mead in the refrigerator, and she's like, must be Bronson's. And now she's like, stinky cheese, must be Bronson. I want to know what her issue with Bronson and his fine taste is. You were just wearing pearl white 4-inch heels to work? Leave Brunson alone. Bryce realizes that everybody in the other room has gone quiet and they all have like super hearing or whatever. So she figures they can continue this conversation later, and she tells Danica to let the wolves eat pizza as well because she was eating first. So Danica is like, yeah, they can come eat, and everybody rushes in to get pizza. Danica reminds Bryce that she has a date with whatever his name is, and Bryce totally forgot about it. And Bryce tells Danica, you know his name is Reed, like stop playing. And Danica says she does know his name is Reed, but she thinks it's a stupid name. Bryce is like, I think the name Reed is hot, and also Reed is hot as hell. If you're ever wondering why I'm giving you stupid details to anything that doesn't seem like plot relevant, it's because there's a drink coming. I did all of that about stupid Reed's stupid name so I could get to the hot as hell and have a sip of my wine. Even though Reed is hot as hell, the sex is just fine. And Danica brings this up like in front of everybody, and she tells Bryce if he grabs his phone before he's even pulled out, like kick him to the curb and come home to me. Besties? It's not giving besties anymore. Bryce is like, fucking hell, Danica, because everybody has clearly overheard that Bryce is having mediocre sex. We get a lot more information about how Danica was the one who actually introduced Bryce to Reed because she met him at her side job. I have nothing about the side job is important at all because literally I cannot force myself to care about anything on this page, even for the views. Bryce has to go get ready and she heads for her bedroom door, which is weird to say that she's not heading for her bedroom, but specifically for her bedroom door. She warns the wolves not to say anything to her and avoids Connor's heavy golden stare because he has golden skin and golden eyes. There's so much more exposition, Jesus. There are twin white wolves called the Ghosts, and also Thorn is an Omega who's apparently in love with Danica. Finally, she gets to her room and shuts the door. Danica showers and gets ready and fixes her wine red hair. That wasn't on the drinking game. Oh, but she also does apply some mascara to bring life back into her amber eyes. We continue this absolutely dull introduction into the story with another huge aside about all her life, all Bryce wanted to be was a dancer. One of the things that I found most annoying about ACOTAR was the whole like Feyre and painting thing. Obviously not that I mind when characters have like a hobby or some defining characteristic. It was the way that it was included and how that was constantly a thing where Feyre was like, I wish I could paint that and I don't know, whatever else it was. If dancing is the new painting, Bryce gonna dance for a living because she's like the center stage girl and her body was all wrong. But Jennifer, who is the fawn who got like name dropped in an info dump last chapter, is a dancer, and she's like the first fawn to ever dance. I cannot wait to see how many times we hear about Fury and Juniper before we actually meet them. Bryce finishes getting ready and she admires herself in the mirror in her skin-tight gray dress. When Bryce comes out, Danica laughs and says that the bouncers are not gonna let her through the doors. Need more wine. Bryce goes into the kitchen to have some shots, and Connor comes in and he leans against the kitchen doorway, which I feel is close. It has the word door in it. It mentions that he's leaning against the doorway twice. Connor wants to ask Bryce out. He says that obviously they're into each other and she's like going out on dates with ungolden skinned men and not getting what she wants, so they should just go out. But Bryce says there's no dating wolves rule. She says that she doesn't need another bossy wolf, and especially a male wolf trying to run her life. And Connor's golden eyes dim, like they're on a switch, like Bryce is done with this conversation and she marches towards the apartment door. But Connor keeps standing in the doorway. Connor's like, let's just go on a trial run date to like see if it would work. And Bryce makes fun of him for the suggestion of a practice date. So he pushes off the door jamb. And Bryce collects her keys from the bowl beside the door. As Bryce is heading out, Danica says like the thing that they say to each other. So Danica says, light it up, bitch. And she responds, light it up, asshole. Because it's not a regular book. It's a cool book. Also, Danica says, I love you. So that there's like another couple of paragraphs about how long it took Danica to say those words. It almost makes Bryce want to stay home, but she doesn't. Oh, we get mentions of Fury and Juniper again. Still haven't met them. We're talking about the ballet again. She talks about how crappy her apartment building is, but it's all that Bryce can afford. And even though Danica could afford more, she would never take a handout. I never really understand this in books because I would take a handout from my best friend. That was 17-ish pages and 48 M dashes. Here's my least favorite M dash of the chapter. Giving the door a good shove with her shoulder, its warped edges got stuck more often than not, mostly thanks to the romping of the hellions currently spread across the several sagging couches and armchair. Bryce sighed as she found 6 pairs of eyes fixed on her. Why 1 sentence when 2 will do? Also, that was 15 doors. I thought the door thing was going to be confined to chapter 1, and in chapter 2 there were only a couple of mention of doors, but 15 times in chapter 3? Is this going to continue to be a thing? And also, why? 3 chapters in, my main gripes are all of the info dumping is really incredibly painful. It is like chunks of the stuff where she's just like defining things or bringing in things in a really graceless way, like they didn't need to be spoken about at that point. But mainly, I think the biggest thing here is that as an introduction to an 800-page book, like, what the hell is this? What kind of attention grab is this? We literally were at a gallery standing around talking, then we walked out of the gallery and talked, and now we're in an apartment and basically we're just talking a lot. There has been nothing, like absolutely nothing here that I feel is like a hook. What's the hook here? What's the hook? Please like and share. That would be great. Also, in the comments, leave some guesses for how many M dashes you think will be in chapter 4. I love the idea that every time we just guess how many M dashes are going to be in the next chapter. The next chapter is 12-ish pages. I'm going to go eat something. Stat. This is chapter 4, and our fortifying beverage for this chapter is coffee because it is the morning. Bryce approaches the restaurant where she's meeting her date, and she hates this place, but she does win a bet with Danica. Danica said that they wouldn't let her in because of how she was dressed, but she says that she goes right on through the doors of the restaurant. Then she goes on for about, 5 or 6 paragraphs about how rich Reed is. And she feels out of place here, not only because of the class thing, but I think like the cast and where she lands as a half human, half fae. Bryce takes out her phone and rereads a message that Connor sent her and basically says that he's bad at talking about things in person. What he was trying to say was that she should give him a shot. Reed finally appears after 45 minutes, and I made a joke about how Connor was golden skinned, but Reed probably wasn't, but that's not true. Reed also has golden skin. So is everybody golden skinned? Now that he's here, she goes once again into the fact that he is super rich, but this time she describes it as no doors locked to his desires. She describes him for us down to his super toned body, and she says it's not only for vain reasons, it's the same reasons that she keeps on dancing besides her love of it, and it's because they might need to escape like a would-be predator. Bryce says that she often wonders what the planet was like before like so many different creatures came to it, and it really makes me realize how, despite the fact that we're almost 50 pages in and all she has done is dump information on us about the world and the people who inhabit it, I still have no idea what's going on. People have left me comments that are like, I'm confused, and it's giving me a complex because I'm like, am I the problem? But no, I don't think I'm the problem. I'm not taking that on. I am condensing and I'm doing my best to like pick out the relevant information, but I don't understand how you info dump for 50 pages and still have nothing that looks like a clear world. I think the big confusion is that Sarah J. Maas is like using a lot of like modern day human on this earth touchstones and like turns of phrases and things like that, but I don't think that this place just Earth but like with fantasy occupation. I have no idea how to answer that. Bryce is a little annoyed that he was 45 minutes late, so she asks if it had something to do with work, and he says yes. I don't know what his rich people job is, but whatever it was has to do with like the conflict that is happening, I think, to like the north of them. So to the north, humans are rebelling, and that's why this Briggs guy who was let out of jail is setting off bombs because he wants to incite rebellion between the humans and the veneer. Even if that information is like mostly wrong, I don't care. Bryce wants to keep talking about this issue and whether or not like the fighting and the rebellion will come to Crescent City, but Reed dismisses her. So instead of having dialogue on this date, we just have Bryce sitting here thinking more information at us about Fury, I guess, fighting in one of these conflicts and the thousands of years that humans have been subjected to slavery. Some angels are also slaves and they've got a tattoo on their wrist. Bryce says that Crescent City is still a melting pot, even though its wealthiest people were grade A assholes. And that's like an example. Grade A is such a like specific turn of phrase that doesn't match to me with like a fantasy world completely divorced from our world. Like grade A was used to grade milk. I don't know. That feels a little bit nitpicky, but I can't help but nitpick because I have no idea like where or when we are. Awkwardly and randomly, Bryce catches the eye of a fae like sitting at a table nearby, and this allows her to continue to info dump. So the fae are part of House of Sky and Breath. Danica and the Shifters are House of Earth and Blood, and there's like bad blood between the two houses. And Bryce, her human half, belongs in House of Earth and Blood, and her fae half belongs in House of Sky and Breath. I hate that name, and the fact that it's a title for the second book, really, Sky and Breath. Just anyways, her fae father, in order to get her like full citizenship, made her claim Sky and Breath over Earth and Blood. Bryce gets a text message from Danica who tells her to dump Reed and give Connor a chance because he's been waiting for years and one date won't hurt anything. She texts her message and puts her phone away. And then, like, my whole question about whether this is like Earth, just like fantasy occupied in the future, absolutely not. Because she tells us that there are fantasy cell phones in this. I love that so much. And they were invented like in the last 50 years. And then Sarah J. Maas makes Bryce think the most boomer thing in the entire world. She says, a new era of linking the world, everyone claimed. Bryce thought they just gave people an excuse not to make eye contact or be bad dates. One, like I said, such a like old dowdy person thing to say, like, cell phones are ruining intimacy. But also, this is hilarious because not that I'm defending Reed, but she literally was looking at her phone, puts it down, looks up, and he's on his phone, and she's like, what a bad date. Bryce says Reed's name, but he like holds her off, which gives us some weird excuse. So Bryce can explain that she's like tapping her nails and she keeps them long, and she takes an elixir to keep them strong so that she can use them as a weapon since she doesn't have talons or claws. I don't begrudge these details in and of themselves. It is the placement, and also what the hell, nothing has happened yet. Someone did tell me in the comments that they can't wait for me to get to chapter 5, so I feel like chapter 5 might be where we take off, and I feel like somebody's gonna die. I don't know why I laughed about that, but you know, just throwing out guesses. Okay. Their food comes out and Bryce complains about the portion and she wonders how the hell she's going to eat it. And as she looks around, she sees that the Fae woman is sneering at her again, and that's sort of the last straw. So she stands up and tells Reed that she's leaving and it's over. Bryce strides out back through the bronze doors, and she decides that she doesn't want to go back home to Pack Night and like face all of their questions and prying. So she picks up her phone and she calls Fury. Oh my god, it is actually Fury. Is Fury gonna die? I'm Game of Thronesing this and just going to assume that everybody's going to die. Fury has to finish a job unaliving someone probably, and then she'll meet Bryce at the Raven. Bryce goes to buy some drugs and the drug dealer tries to push a new party on her called Synth, but Bryce passes, and then she walks over to the Raven where there is already a line snaking from the doors. But Bryce posts up near the service door, and she finally answers Connor back and says that they can have a pizza date on Saturday, but if he's late, it's over. Connor immediately replies and says, I'll never keep you waiting. He's too nice. Is he gonna die? Yeah. Okay. Connor's like, do you mean it about the pizza? And Bryce says, does it look like I'm joking, Connor? Which is a weird thing to say because this is happening through text message on their fantasy cell phones. So like, is text message like video message? Like, why would he be able to see her? Connor asks about what's his name, and Bryce says that he's officially dumped. Connor says that's good because he was getting worried he'd have to kill him. But then he quickly says that he's kidding. He won't go alpha hole on Bryce. Somebody suggested also drinking anytime alcohol was mentioned, and also mate. The fact that there are so many things that we could functionally add to this drinking game is like a problem in and of itself. The drinking game could be drink anytime you think of a viable option of adding something to the drinking game, and also you would still get drunk. Danica is upset that they're going out without her, but also she's not going to leave pack night because it's the only night that they can spend together, and it's how they keep their bond strong, and Danica's the best. Oh my god, is Danica gonna die? She tells us so many times how Danica is the best and is going to be the best leader. This allows Bryce to go into another page of info dumping about pack power and hierarchy and how different kinds of shifters rule in other cities. And she goes on about this, and then she goes, honestly, most of it bored Bryce to tears. Why are you telling me? It is boring to you. And you think I'm gonna... Why share it with me? I'll cry about it if that's what you want. Connor sends another message about how Bryce won't regret this because he's had a long time to figure all the ways he's going to spoil her and all the fun they're going to have, really digging that grave if he is going to die. And because Bryce is so engrossed in her messages, she doesn't notice that Fury comes up on her, and Fury puts a knife to her throat and is like, you're dead because you were not paying attention. Fury asks where Juniper is, and Bryce says, hell if I know. And then Bryce is like, I brought goodies, and shows off her drugs. And then Fury's like, so did I. And her drugs is like white powder in a baggie. And Bryce is like, is that the new party drug that I just heard about a couple pages ago? And Fury's like, Synth, stay away from that. So this seems like it might be another little plot thread. Not exactly a plot introduction, because I still don't know what the plot is. I could read the back of the book, but where's the fun in that? But we've got all of these little threads. Okay, so we've got the blackout, the horn that was stolen, got Patrick Briggs blowing up stuff and being let out of prison, the murders that happened during the blackout on Danica's watch. We've got this new party drug, and that is nothing to say about the character dynamic things that have all been poorly introduced. The good news is that's the end of the chapter as they go inside to party. So that was about 13 pages and 28 M-dashes, not too bad. And we had 5 doors and 2 hells. My least favorite M-dash of the chapter is she kept her nails long and took a daily elixir to keep them strong. What are you interrupting? What are you pausing for? Don't forget to leave in the comments your guess for how many M-dashes will be in chapter 5. It is about 12 pages, and I cannot wait to see who dies. This is chapter 5. Our fortifying beverage of the chapter is a cider, and as a reminder, the drinking game currently is drink anytime SJM uses the word door, drink anytime somebody says hell, drink for any mention of special colored eyes, drink anytime Bryce thinks about dancing, and unless this is going to kill me, I have decided to add drink for any mention of alpha holes. I reserve the right to edit this as needed. When we last left off, Bryce was meeting Fury and Juniper to party at the Raven, and Fury knows the owner either through work or whatever the hell she did in her personal life. The owner is a butterfly shifter. Inside, Bryce and Fury are doing their super cool, this is an adult book, drugs. I don't know if I've talked about this yet, but one of the things that I hate most about Sarah J. Maas's writing is awkward phrasing that she uses, and oftentimes it comes because she's trying to make things fancy or use extra words. But here's one. Bryce reduced herself into the pulsing beat of the music. Bryce reduced herself into the pulsing beat of the music. Huh? Bryce is having the time of her life. She says that she can't wait to make the drop with Danica and do this until the earth crumbles. I'm not going to say that this is for sure confirmation that Danica's going to die, but over on Snark Squad, we call really heavy-handed foreshadowing, 40 shadowing, because it's like ramped up. So everything around the drop right now is like 40 shadowing. Bryce finds Juniper on the dance floor, and we're told again, Bryce's blood pulsed in time to the music. She is feeling it, and Juniper looks at her and gets it. She gets the particular freedom and joy and unleashing that came from dancing. Juniper's every movement matched hers without so much as a lick of hesitation. Without so much as a lick. That's so weird. Not a lick of, without so much as a lick of. Bryce says that Juniper is like an exhibitionist and she shines when she dances. Danica has been texting Bryce, but she's too messed up to even read the messages. I hope that's not important at all. Time slowed and bled, here dancing among the pillars. She's mentioned the pillars like 87 million times. It's been 2 pages in this chapter and we've just been describing dancing between the pillars. Bryce thinks that maybe she'll just quit her job and live in the club and they could hire her to dance. Dangling from the glass ceiling high above the temple ruins that made up the dance floor. I'm trying to cut these down for time, and I probably could manage that if I just stopped talking about how much I don't understand where all of this padding is coming from and why, and who keeps letting her get away with it. We weirdly jump ahead to Bryce stumbling down the street towards home without any recollection of how she got there. Of how the hell she'd even gotten there. She dismisses it and says that she'll think about all of that tomorrow, if she even fell asleep, because she wanted to stay awake to dance forever. What kind of joke is it that I officially added dance to the drinking game before chapter 5? I had no idea. Bryce makes it to her apartment and pauses outside her building door. As Bryce is slowly making her way up the stairs, she wonders if Connor is still around and then thinks about getting lucky tonight and how with him it would be more than physical. The strength of their connection is why she's been avoiding him from the moment he leaned in her doorway 5 years ago. Bryce spares another thought for lovely, wicked Danica and how pissed she's gonna be that Bryce had fun without her. Danica is so dead. She makes it to her door. She takes out her keys and there's like 6 on them and she's like, this one is to the gallery, this one's to the archives, and this one is to her door. Which door? This door, literally. And one was to the door, this door. She drops the keys and then has to put a hand on the door frame, and something cold and wet is all over the door frame and it sounds like death to me. Bryce closes her eyes and tries to get the world to stop spinning, and when she opens them she focuses on the tile in front of the door. Bryce finally registers that she's smelling blood and the apartment door is already open. I wish I could explain to you. The repeating of alcohol makes sense. Even the hell thing makes sense. It's just funny that we're drinking to hell. But the fact that we are drinking to door, and it is literally the thing that consistently I need to guzzle. Can somebody explain this to me? Oh my God. The lock is mangled and the handle is wrenched off, and she tells us iron. The door was iron. But now the door looked like a crumpled piece of paper. Bryce thinks she's hallucinating and swears not to ever do drugs or drink again. So she rubs her eyes, but unfortunately, even after that, the blood is still there, and so is the mangled door. Inside, it's a lot of carnage. It appears all of the wolves are dead and Bryce's bedroom door is mangled. Bryce finds Danica's body on her bed. At the foot of the bed is Connor's body. The trash chute is open and blood and prints cover the door. Bryce realizes that whatever killed them all must be hiding in the trash chute and heard her coming. So she books it and she sees that the glass door at the bottom of the stairs is already shattered. And she steps all over the glass to hurtle through the door and into the street. Is this even fun anymore? I don't know. I'm just saying the word door over and over again. It's not fun when I do it, and it's not fun when Sarah J. Maas does it. I actually am too many doors in and I don't know what's happening. I thought that she was running away from whatever was hiding in the trash chute, but I don't know that that's true anymore. Okay, wait. The trash chute is open over and over, swaying against the door. Oh shoot, I missed the door. It's good to reread, folks. Okay, she's running. I just read that over and it is no less confusing, but she is actually chasing whatever did this, not running away from them. As she's running, she's dodging and jumping over cars and doing the whole thing. And every movement is as smooth as one of her dance steps. leap, twirl, arch. Can you just imagine that she's like chasing this baddie, but she's like leaping and twirling and arching as she does it. But also so drunk out of her mind that she was like in blood, like touching it, and it took her forever to realize that it's blood. But right now she's like leaping over cars gracefully. That is a beautiful mental image. Bryce is tracking the creature by its stench, and she finds him in an alleyway, and he is like chomping on an angel, a malak. She's armed with a kitchen table leg, which she grabbed from the apartment, and she starts like wailing on the thing until it lets the angel go and comes for Bryce, and it like takes a chunk out of her thigh, but she manages to keep wailing on it with a kitchen table leg, and the creature flees. She wants to go after it, but the angel is like in really bad shape, so Bryce sticks around to try and help him. She grabs his fantasy cell phone and dials fantasy 911. She can't really tell much about where they even are because she was just like playing across traffic, so what does she know where they are? And this back and forth between the 911 operator and Bryce goes on until the end of the chapter. I feel like this 5 chapters and 67 pages in is really supposed to be like the hook into the story. We meet this like pretty vapid young party girl and her best friend, and then suddenly boom, chapter 5, she's dead. So for something like this to work, you really needed more buy-in into Danica as a character and the friendship between Danica and Bryce. I feel like Sarah J. Maas thought she did that by what? I don't know. Having them make wishes by cutting tourists off in line. What else was the thing that was like showing us the depth and breadth of their friendship? I don't know. Instead, we got 12-ish pages and 44 M-dashes. There were 18 doors, 2 hells, and 7 dances. Tune in next time, I guess. I mean, please tune in next time. And don't forget to like and share and comment. As always, leave your guesses for how many M-dashes will be in the next chapter, which is 21 pages. This is chapter 6. This is written in third person, but there is still sort of a shift in point of view. And so what we have at the beginning of this is an angel observing Bryce, and he tells us that she looks like hell. No, not hell. Isaiah, who is the angel, realizes as he's studying her, she looks like death, which is kind of what the saying, you look like hell. But okay. Also, a very annoying thing, and I haven't noticed it in the writing previously, so I don't know if it's meant to be like Isaiah's an angel and he's like super stuffy, but he keeps calling Bryce a female. The female is doing this and the female did that, and oh my god, it is absolutely terrible to read each time he does. I feel a little bit itchy. Because Bryce was like freaking out when they found her and also gravely injured, Isaiah made the decision to bring her back here to this processing center as a witness but not a suspect. From the door behind him, Isaiah hears a rough male voice, so I guess he's equal opportunity calling people males and females, and he works against his reaction to like shudder at the very voice. But when he turns around, there's another angel leaning against the doorway, and this is Hunt Athalar. Hunt is a predator, a killer, a monster. He's scary. He asks Isaiah if Bryce is speaking yet, and Isaiah says that the female hasn't said a word since she's been brought in. Hunt is described as having golden brown skin, and this is, I think, right in line with like most of Sarah J. Maas's like main male characters, that they're like racially ambiguous. And I say racially ambiguous because it's not just brown, it's golden brown, and everybody else has been described as having gold skin. So what does golden brown exactly mean? It feels to me like it means able to be fetishized, and also brown enough that Sarah J. Maas doesn't want to hear you talk about her lack of diversity, but also like not that brown where she can be held accountable for like stereotypes and things. And it does not escape me that as a brown man and a main character, he belongs to the slave class of angels. We learned that Hunt's nickname is Umbra Mortis, which is the shadow of death, because I don't know if you've heard yet, but he's a killer. He's scary. We are getting a ton of information about Hunt. It's all the same. I take that back. It is all the same information about Hunt, just over and over again. Isaiah whips out a file on Bryce and is like, she's 23, half fae, half female. Blood tests confirm that she will have an immortal lifespan, but also her power rating is near negligible. I don't know if you forgot during my little break, but Sarah J. Maas is giving us like these really subtle hammers to the face about how Bryce is like not at all powerful. Absolutely not. She does not have a lick of power. There is no power to be found in Bryce. Now proven by science, I guess, because it's in her file. What file? I don't know. Her file. This continues to be extra hilarious because Isaiah goes on to say that they found Bryce in an alley trying to save one of the angels, and then he goes, I don't know why I'm saying this because Hunt is well versed in the details. We both are because we were both there. So literally, why are you telling us again? I was also there. I also know what was going on. Who does this serve? Hunt still has the gloves, the bloody gloves that he used like as he was working on Bryce. So he takes them off and throws them into the metal trash can by the door. And then the mail leafed through Quinlan's thin file. He sees that Danica is her roommate. And then as he keeps reading, he realizes that Danica and the whole pack of devils is dead. Isaiah says that they just arrested Philip Briggs for the murders, even though Isaiah doesn't really know how Briggs could have managed summoning a demon that would have taken out the entire pack of devils. Hunt asks if the press knows, and then if Sabine knows that Danica is dead. And right on cue, Sabine busts in the door. She comes in calling Bryce a whore and wanting to kill her. And so Isaiah and Hunt both block the door to the interrogation room. Hunt has lightning dancing around his knuckles, so this is how we learned that he is in fact Pikachu. All of the angels have weather power, but Hunt is super special, and he's the only one that has like powerful lightning. And then we get a page-long info dump about like the angels and how they rebelled, and as part of their punishment they are now slaves, and they are marked on their foreheads in what is supposed to be like a mockery of a halo, and then they've got the tattoo on their wrist, and all of this is done in witch ink, which means that it will never go away. Oh my god, that awkwardly placed info dump made me absolutely forget that Sabine like blew in here like angry and foaming at the mouth. We just literally get her running in here and saying I want to kill her, and take a time out for an entire page to just info dump about what angels are and why. And then back on this page, we are reminded that Sabine is even in the room. Jesus. This is so awful. This is so awful. Isaiah is trying to figure out why Sabine wants Bryce dead, and Sabine thinks that Bryce has stolen Danica's sword because it's not in the apartment. She is very not concerned about Danica being dead, and she basically says that Danica was a troublemaker and should have known better. Isaiah's like, known better about what? And Sabine is like, about everything, about all of it, starting with that slut of a roommate. I mentioned that because Sabine is coming in strong with the slut shaming against Bryce, and I know she's like villainous, so we're not supposed to like her, but I just wanted to point out that that is indeed happening. Sabine demands that Isaiah tell him what's going on, and Hunt replies that he doesn't have to tell her anything, and then lets us know that they're actually of equal power in terms of their rank, and they both answer to males of power within their own ranks. Males of power. As Sabine is demanding to talk to Bryce herself, the interrogation room door opens and a stunning female named Victoria walks in, and she's going to question Bryce. Sabine is still being like angry and disruptive, so Hunt tells her that she needs to go sign some paperwork and take a moment to herself, and Sabine spits at his feet. So Hunt gives her like the cool stare that serves as his warning to opponents on a battlefield, which Isaiah tells us basically means that he is definitely going to kill Sabine, and it might not be today and it might not be tomorrow, but she's gonna get dead. And then she like storms out of the room and slashes up a metal door in her anger. Through interrogation, Victoria tells us that they've got footage of Bryce at the club and Bryce walking home thanks to the CCTV. The fantasy CCTV, I guess. But her building is so trash that they don't have surveillance video of anything that happened inside. Isaiah wonders why Sabine hates Bryce so much, specifically considering that Bryce's file is like super thin and she's only been arrested once. Meanwhile, Danica's file has 7 parts, and she's the one who's obviously the troublemaker, and it started when she was really young, but has gotten better since knowing Bryce. Hunt is dismissive of that because Bryce was doing drugs, so she's still like, you know, a party girl or whatnot. He asks who else was partying with Bryce, and Isaiah names Juniper and Fury, and Hunt is like, oh no, not Fury, because they know to stay the hell away from her. Meanwhile, in the interrogation room, Victoria is pulling up messages between Danica and Bryce had texted Danica that she hooked up with somebody in the bathroom and not to tell Connor anything. Then the messages start being only one way from Danica to Bryce because Bryce has stopped answering. So the final message is basically like, we're leaving in 5 minutes, TV night is over, we'll see you soon. After that, all they have is like muffled audio from the busted cameras in the apartment building. And so they play for Bryce like Danica screaming and begging for help. I don't know what kind of interrogation tactic this is, because it's obviously going to send her further into shock and grief. Hunt is listening to this as well, and he gets upset. So he crosses to the door, barges into the interrogation room. Victoria twists towards the door to see that Hunt is there with his lightning knuckles like ready to rumble. And right at that moment, Bryce snaps and she like hurls the table across the room and gets super angry and then starts vomiting. Hunt thinks, oh, this girl's not at all powerful. She has absolutely no power. So this was just pure physical rage. Isaiah's phone rings and it's Naomi, who is the captain of one of the other infantry units. And he basically says to let Bryce go because she's just got a call from Rune, who is the prince. He is the son of the Autumn Court king. And the Fae are upset that they took Bryce into custody without letting the Fae know, because Bryce belongs to the House of Sky and Breath. In order to avoid more conflict, they decide to let Bryce go. Hunt offers Bryce more medical attention because she's still got that like wound on her thigh, but Bryce just limps out through the open door. Hunt's eyes are fixed on the doorway, and a couple lines later, a dark-haired Fae male bursts through the door. It's Rune, and he's carrying his super special sword, which marks him as a chosen one or having chosen one status, and Isaiah thinks whatever the hell that means. Rune asks where Bryce is, and they let him know that they've just released her a few minutes ago, so he turns towards the doorway, but Hunt wants to know why Rune is involved, so he says that she's her cousin. We know that Bryce and Rune are actually siblings, but I guess nobody else knows who Bryce's real dad is, and Hunt just figures that it's like a distant cousin thing. They keep like snapping at each other about where Rune was and whether or not he's a suspect, because him and Danica argued at the council meeting when Briggs was released. And then also Rune clarifies that he is not sleeping with Bryce because they are indeed family. And then he strides back through the door, and Hunt flips off the empty doorway. Hunt says that they've given Bryce a tracking device in the water that she drank and wants to know how long it will last. It will last 3 days. He comments on how Danica was one of the strongest Vanir, and at the end she begged like a human, which he thinks is like very shameful, and Sabine will never recover from that shame. He's also thinking about how he's never seen a demon kill like this or disappear so easily. It's like it vanished back to hell. So they have got to find the demon. They'll watch Bryce for 3 days, and then Hunt asks what happens after the 3 days, and then Isaiah says that if she's smart, she'll lie low and never attract the attention of any powerful immortals for the rest of her life. I wish that were actually the end. So that was 21-ish pages, and we had 15 doors and 5 hells. We had 50 M dashes, so like always, there was a lot of competition for my least favorite, but I'm going to give it to this one. But the work Hunt did in the shadows for the Archangels, for Micah currently, that was what had earned him his nickname. Hunt answered directly to Micah, and the rest of them stayed out of his way. Why do we need the M dashes to interrupt the thought to tell us that he's currently working for Micah if the very next sentence you tell us Hunt answered directly to Micah? Like, what did anybody, including Sarah J. Maas, read any of this back? Did anybody go back and read it and just go, oh, I said that twice? And that is so representative of the type of repetition that exists here that just drives me absolutely bonkers. It is what makes me so upset that her writing is so highly regarded, because it honestly, this is chapter 7. Bryce is kneeling at what is described as some sort of like temple, and she tells us that it's basically been 7 days since Danica died. She's been holed up in a hotel room with her mother this entire time, basically doing absolutely nothing. She got a voicemail from Ethan. Basically, she is uninvited from Danica's funeral, the equivalent of. It's called a sailing, and they put her remains on a boat and push it off, and then she goes to the afterlife and is judged whether she is worthy or not. Bryce says that even if she were invited to the sailing, she couldn't manage to go because her grief is so heavy. And so she's kneeling at the front of these gates, and very symbolically, she opens her eyes and lifts her gaze. That's it. That is chapter 7. I kid you not. It is one page and then we're into part 2. So hooray us. No drinking. There were 2 M dashes in 2 pages. I would like to read you a little section here because this whole thing is obviously Bryce like deep in her grief, but it reads like some of the worst emo ramblings of like my middle school diary. Check this out. There was only silence here. Silence and mist. Was this death? Silence and fog? Bryce ran her tongue over her dry, chapped lips. She did not remember the last time she'd drunk anything, had a meal. Only her mother coaxing her to take a sip of water. So you do remember the last time you drank something. If you remember your mother coaxing you to take a sip of water. Okay. A light had gone out inside her. A light had been extinguished. She might as well have been staring inside herself. Darkness. Silence, mist. Ooh, very poetic if you just keep saying silence and mist over and over again. This whole like 2 pages is nonstop repetition. We say the word boat a ton. We say the word dark a ton. We say black a ton. Silence and mist. So that's all you really need to know to end part 1 is silence, mist, dark boat. Dark silence, misty silence, dark silence, mist, inside silence, dark. The end. We did it. If you have read or would like to read or are reading along with me, let me know down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video and I will see you guys soon.